Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Tuntum Network. I'm Cyrus. I'm happy to come your way again and bring you the conclusion story of all that occurred in the BRICS summit that just happened in South Africa. And like I said from the beginning, President Cyril Ramaphosa has done a tremendous job, which he deserves an applause for how he has stood in for the whole of Africa. And he was able to, garner all the leaders of Africa into one room, finally to have a roundtable discussion with President Xi Jinping of China. So the biggest news in this whole summit was that 6 countries has been added to the BRICS group, making it now 11 starting January next year, 2024. And out of the 6, 2 are from Africa, Ethiopia, and Egypt. And we are so proud of these 2 countries. In addition to that, there was a roundtable yesterday, and that is what I want to concentrate on in this conclusion. But all in all, the dust has settled. And our own President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, was also there in the Africa-China summit at the roundtable. But there was something that I was looking out for, and that was what President Xi Jinping said. Because speaking of what the African leaders were going to say, there were things that they were predictable. I knew what most of them would say, and they ended up saying the things that I suspected they would go there to say. Now, there is a part where the Chinese president addressed the African leaders. There were so many things he mentioned, and there was this particular situation or place where he spoke, and that caught my attention. Let's take a listen.
Colleagues, there are various paths leading to modernization. The African people have the most say on which path suits Africa best.
I'll read from the English translation as the president was speaking, because he spoke in Mandarin. And I'll quote what he said. Colleagues, there are many paths leading to modernization. The African people have the most say on which path suits Africa best. This one statement from President Xi Jinping is a remarkable statement, ladies and gentlemen. Clearly, he wished Africa will have a say in how Africa wants to modernize, which should have been the real case in any situation. This should have been Africa's situation, where we plan for what we want. We plan out our lives. We decide on the things we want to keep and not to keep and all that. So he starts off by telling African leaders and telling the world also that the route to becoming modernized isn't one method only. It's not one method. There are so many ways to become modernized. And so the West may be proposing one thing. Asia may be proposing one thing. Whichever continent or country may be proposing one thing. But it is not necessarily that one thing is the only way to be modernized as a country. So Africa can look internally and see how best Africa can modernize, can develop without necessarily following the steps of other countries. There are certain things that may work there and may not work here because of our customs, our traditions, and all that. So when he mentioned that, I thought that was pretty smart, pretty good for the African continent. So the Chinese president, in his speech to the African leaders present and those not there, mentioned 3 things that China has planned out for Africa. Let's look at the details of what he said.
To chart the course for our practical cooperation in the next stage and help Africa bring its integration and modernization into a fast track, I wish to make the following 3 proposals. China will launch the initiative on supporting Africa's industrialization. China will better harness its resources for cooperation with Africa and the initiative of businesses to support Africa in growing its manufacturing sector and realizing industrialization and economic diversification. In implementing the 9 programs under the 4CAC framework, China will channel more resources of assistance, investment, and financing toward programs for industrialization. China will launch the Plan for China Supporting Africa's Agricultural Modernization. China will help Africa expand grain plantation, encourage Chinese companies to increase agricultural investment in Africa.
Yes, quite interesting times. 3 things that China has planned out for Africa. In as much as, this whole roundtable thing got me interested, this sounded like when you have a family of a man, a wife, and kids, and the man is unable to take care of his home because, he's wasting all his resources. And there is this other rich man or rich family. And the man from that family looks on the poor man and his family and says, I think I have plans for you and your family. I think next year I'll be organizing some rice and bags of rice and some cooking oil to you next year. And in addition to that, I think I also have some plans for your children's education and also how you pay your rent. This is how it sounded to me, okay? Because President Xi, as much as I like the man, what he was saying is like he could clearly see that African leaders had no plan. So China had gone ahead of that and planned for Africa. Quite interesting. Let's break it down on what the Chinese President Xi Jinping said, and let's see where it takes us to as a continent. But my question to what he said was this. What is AU's collective plan to modernize in Africa? Does AU have any plans in place to ensure that all African countries, across board, have a sustainable or collective idea on how we are going, or is it just nation by nation? Because take, for instance, my country, Ghana. Ghana doesn't have any development plan. So what happens in Ghana is, the political parties come with their political parties manifesto for the country, and then they come and implement it, which most of the times they don't. And then they leave it hanging, especially most of the projects they begin, and then they are kicked out of government. Then the new government comes in and overlooks all the projects that were started by the other government from the other political party and starts a whole new project, leaving behind all those projects in the bush. And then they also start a new one, and they don't also end it. So what you find is a stunted growth in our development. We are unable to even out our development. It starts, and then it hangs, and then it doesn't continue. And this one also comes in and starts, it hangs, it doesn't continue. So Ghana doesn't have a development plan. I don't know the situation in other African countries. Perhaps wherever you are in Africa that you get the opportunity to watch this, you may want to share with us the situation in your country pertaining to whether there is a development plan in place or none. All right? Or none. But let's continue with what the president said. And then I quote, to chart the course for our practical cooperation in the next stage and help Africa bring its integration and modernization into a fast track, I wish to make the following 3 proposals. So the Chinese government is looking at Africa and is looking at a practical cooperation platform or medium through which they can bring a certain level of assistance to Africa. They are looking at it on our behalf because it looked to them as though we cannot handle it on our own. We cannot do it. That is simply put, that's how he sees us. So they have gone and sat down. The Chinese government, they have sat down with their technocrats and looked at the African continent as a whole and planned out something for us. This is kind of sad to me. Because I don't want to say certain things, but all right, let's take a listen to what he said in the 3 things that he's proposing. The first one is this, and I quote, China will launch the initiative of supporting Africa's industrialization. China will launch the initiative. So they are going to move the agenda, not Africa. They are going to propose it, initiate it, and also control it, because they are bringing the money and the technical know-how. Very, very interesting. China will better harness, and this is the second one, China will better harness its resources for cooperation with Africa and initiative of businesses to support Africa in growing its manufacturing sector and industrialization, and economic diversification. China will better harness its resources. So, in as much as they are starting the initiative, they are bringing what they have in mind. They are going to know how to, put together their resources in helping Africa through our manufacturing sector to get to a point of industrialization. I mean, think about that. Think about that. I have my opinion on this, but I'll give after I give the third point that he gave. This is the third point. China will channel more resources of assistance, investment, and financing towards programs for industrialization. All right, end of quote. So it is China doing this and doing that. I don't know if they had any teams or groups or technocrats from Africa sitting with them to plan this out, or they just have something in mind they are going to throw it to us and see if we want to stick to it. China will launch this, China will launch that. Then he goes on to say this. China will launch the plan for China supporting Africa's agricultural modernization. China will launch the plan. So what is happening to our technocrats? What is happening to leadership in Africa? Because China seems to have planned everything out. They are not waiting for Africa to do anything. They figure it out, they are bringing it to the table, and then they say, this is it. Go implement it. They don't trust you can do anything about it. They don't trust you have any input that can make any significant changes. So they figured it out, take it, go and implement it. Or take it, we are coming to do it for you. He goes on also to say this. China will help Africa expand grain plantation, encourage Chinese companies to increase agricultural investment in Africa. I mean, we have been eating grain. We have been eating grain in Africa since Adam, and till now. Come to Ghana. Come to Ghana. I always have to use my country as a point of reference. There is nothing called a grain plantation here. There is a lot of talk on industrialization, on mass production of this and that, and nothing gets done. Okay, so the Chinese knows how we behave. They know we can speak all the English. They know we go to all the universities in the world. All right, and when it gets to the point of implementation, they don't trust us. I mean, as a man, this sounds more like when you are speaking to a weak, helpless and vulnerable person who is on the down low. The way it sounds like to me, even though it will help a lot of African countries, it sounds like exactly how it is. You are weak, you are helpless, and you are vulnerable, and we are coming to your assistance. Wow. So if the Chinese government don't come, we cannot set it up ourselves. I mean, think about this. If China doesn't show up with all these packages for us, we as a people, we cannot figure it out. All the universities, the creme de la creme universities in the world, African leaders have been there. They travel overseas, they get education. The Ivy League universities. And then they come back and they can put these things together. All the research work that have been done in the universities, in agriculture, they are sitting on the shelves in the universities, collecting dusts. We cannot use them. We don't have plans of our own. Listen, President Xi Jinping is a savvy businessman. He is very, very smart. He has so much power and control to the point where he has more control than all the presidents of Africa put together. He's a very powerful man. He stands for accountability and balance of payment. So if you think it's business as usual to go and collect money and come and spend it on yourself, like how you have been doing to the West, this will not be the regular thing again as a leader of your country. China doesn't roll like this. I've lived in China. They don't play around. They are serious people. They stand for accountability. I'm serious. They will check your books. They will send people to the ground and check. They will compare prices because you are buying from them. They know what it takes. Okay? You don't go around, playing around China. China is a very serious people. And because they are strictly business and not coming with all manner of strange clauses, they keep their eye on the project and make sure it materializes. If you go to China and you are a leader or of any province or whatever, or a chief executive of any government institution, and you mess up, the consequences are dire. It's very, very scary. So they are very strict people. They get the work done. That is basically how they are. They get the job done. So if you are an African leader and you are running away from the West to go to China with the same attitude, it will not be business as usual for you. All right? So let us also, as individual countries, figure this thing out. Because China has said it. If China doesn't come, it doesn't mean we continue waiting for them. Anything can happen. But until they come, or whilst they haven't come, we need to get something done. You are a leader of your country. Your country is so poor. There is no clean water to drink. Food is always in short. And you have so much arable lands and so many rivers flowing into the sea freely. I mean, it's a sad situation. Where are the Kwame Nkrumahs of today? Where are the Kwame Nkrumah type of leadership of today? Where are they? Where they get job done? Where they start industries? They have plans, 20-year plans, 10-year plans, 5-year plans, and they follow through and make sure they execute their plans. Where are they? We need that kind of government. It has been a successful summit. I'll tell you, all in all, it has been a wonderful summit. I've learned so much from this particular summit. And moving forward next year, I hope greater things will come to Africa. I hope Africa will see some serious and significant development out of this. And I hope Africans will partner with Africans and compare ideas on how to solve African problems. Thank you so much. And please help us. I know you can, especially new people or new viewers to this podcast. Help us and leave a like, comment, share. Most importantly, subscribe to this channel. We want to hit, 1,000 subscribers by the end of this month. Please help me get there. Thank you so much. It's been an amazing time, bringing you information on this BRICS summit. Hopefully next year, if God gives us life, I'll be your way again to give you more. But until then, I'll be bringing you information on business in Africa, more politics, lifestyle, and religion. God bless you, and God bless the continent of Africa. Thank you, and it's bye-bye for now.